Chapter 9, 1945. CE, I was soaring, high above the primordial Earth in the elevated compartments of the stratosphere. In the space between the horizon and the face of the dream. Everything pale blue and stunning in the light. Everything wisdom and beauty stretching out into the eons and eons as they passed, colliding in a silent cacophony against the breeze as it broke against time and momentum. The devil was there in the oceans of the firmament with God and his angels, and as above, below. All of it was just a reflection. There was nothing that was not a reflection. When all time passing had expired, I could feel myself entering back into that shadow kingdom on whose grounds we all congregate listlessly. Time condensed had melted down and filled itself with German fighter planes and Allied glide bombers striking their targets. My body was like a sixth-generation fighter jet, like a nuclear-propelled fortress. Filling the German skies with smoke, I exhaled marijuana smoke I had saved over the course of my life for just a moment like this. Leaving fighters dogfighting in my dust, I radiated light blinding the pilots on both sides. The armies of all governments were the dark forces of the unconscious. They were necessary for limited man, but man illuminated by the realization of their true identity, and marijuana smoke did not need bureaucrats dressed in suits or priests dressed in their garments of deception. In the distance, there were tall hills on which a small house was seated. I could see it, the Kaelstein Mountains, and the eagle's nest high above. Bringing myself down on the summit, I could see the stormtrooper guards dressed in their leather bondage outfits for their village person Führer. It was like some kind of fetish convention held by sick paramilitaries in the name of a dictator who ruled over those blind to his depravity and reptilian nature. His followers were primitive, and the guards with their automatic submachine guns fell to their knees in Nazi salute. They were too stunned by a flying godman to notice my Semitic features and my NY Yankees ball cap. Blinded by my pale white skin and blue eyes, the words to communicate could not even leave their mouth. "Stand down and let me pass. I have come from the far future to record your despotism for those who will come after us. Do not try to stop me." But the Nazi guards could barely move. Their Reich wisdom and ideology would not lead them to the purest revelation. In their leather boots, with their skulls head daggers, they kept their eyes to the ground. As I walked past the guards, I could see the lair in the distance, the tiny beige house with its silver roof. A series of steps and patios was laid out in front of me. There on the crown of the mountain I could see the rotten Führer with his rotten milk sneer. His khaki field coat matched the wood of the structure. Foaming and ranting, the Nazi menace stood above his chair on one of the patios in front of a movie screen, yelling at a fat, sweating man.
"Now, Morel, where are your chemicals and potions now? This lair is too high. What do you think the French would think of a place like this? Forget your sweating and your discomfort, you obese little man, and fix me a shot that will help me deal with this small high place. Why do I conduct my business like a vulture on this mountainside? Tell me, Morel, tell me as you prepare me a shot. Yes, what do you have up your sleeve? Tell me now. I have intelligence from the High Command. Very important intelligence. Quickly now, Morel, I need my medicine to focus. Give it here!"
The Theodor Morel, Hitler's doctor, was stumbling and spasming in the sight of his beloved Reich master. Fumbling and seizing his various vials and equipment, Morel reached for the methamphetamine, the cocaine, and the morphine vial. The German Führer was growling and shaking, biting down and grinding his teeth while he raised his fist into the air. When Hitler was seated and Morel had loaded the needle with the chemical fix, he rolled the sleeve of the murderer down until the soft flesh and veiny bits of his arm were exposed. Penetrating the flesh of the vein as he entered into it, Morel pulled back the needle, and again the tiny blood man was called into existence before he was sent back into Hitler's vein. "You pathetic junkie scum. What happened to your Aryan godman shtick? You look on my people and judge them as lacking, while you have your Spritzmeister inject your gray tissue paper skin with narcotics, a foul worm such as you can't handle? Do you see my pale white skin? Do you see my blue eyes? Your Jewish caricatures and cartoons look like you. You cannot compete with this Semitic poet. I am all bone and skin and muscle with no strudel or pilsner. I took your Wagner, your Nietzsche, your Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, and left your Arthur Schopenhauer. I took your Bukowski and left your book burnings, and I will take your methamphetamine, your cocaine, and your morphine. Spritzmeister, Morel. I am your new Führer. The old one couldn't fly. Now load up the biggest needle you got with all the rest of the bottles of methamphetamine, cocaine, and morphine. We will see who the Lord of the Hunt is. We will see who can inhale fire and spit lightning." Hitler was silent, and he fell back into a small wooden chair that was behind him. Morel was as if possessed by the spirit of his ancestors, which despite my Yankee hat and Jewish nose he still thought I represented. It was a fact of life that there were always two visions before every pair of eyes in this world. The sight that was before them and the vision before them, which was managed and controlled by their experiences and expectations in life. All that Morel could see was one of the Aryan god-men his Führer had cited. Whoever was strongest would lead in the eyes of the brute. So Morel loaded the hypodermic syringes, one for Hitler and one for me. When finally Hitler could rouse himself to words out of the shock of the disrespect and upstaging by a flying Jew to his Spritzmeister, he stood and spoke. His words were calm and slow in comparison to his recorded speeches.
What kind of Jewish plot is this? Have the Allies begun their last deception? No, I can see you come from a time where I have been defeated. From a world where the black sun does not shine, a sphere where the Reich fire does not burn. Your Jewish magic is clearly superior. I have never seen an Aryan fly, but you flying snake Jew, you call on some unseen power. Yes, I see that you have seen the end of Adolf Hitler, but you do not understand the soul of the German. I will say to you what Wagner said to Mendelssohn. You Jews, you ruin the soul of Germany because you do not understand it. You Jews are compassionate and we Germans are cruel. You Jews will ruin the world. You Jews will ruin Germany. You can't handle the truth, and you can't handle my Aryan god medicine snake Jew.
I was a snake Jew. I had always been a snake Jew. Even in paradise, I was a snake Jew. I was the serpent Messiah. It was not foul to devour wisdom. Wisdom was not forbidden. Knowledge was sacred. Illumination was destiny. It was not God that banished man from paradise. Man was the flaming sword that stood against himself. It was man that had exiled God from the garden. But the nature of man and God was unity. Man's fate was the discovery of his identity. The recognition of his divinity would be the return to the garden. You talk about Wagner like you're some kind of German, but you're an Austrian deviant, addicted to drugs made by Jewish science. You're a worm. You can't understand Wagner. You can't understand Nietzsche. Your tanks have Ford engines and run on Rockefeller Standard Oil. You're a British agent. You're a Rockefeller plant. You're nothing more than a representative of the oil and steel cartels. A dupe planted by the Western hegemons and the robber barons in order to plunder and consolidate the wealth and treasure of Europe. You work for IBM and Coca-Cola, for Ford, for JP Morgan and Rockefeller. You killed 6 million of my people, and now I want satisfaction. I'm not a killer like you. I challenge you to a duel by Jewish medicine. Now roll up your sleeve, we will see who the man of fire is, and who is weak of will and blood. Your Spritzmeister has just prepared us a holy shot. Let us see who is still standing when the hypodermic empties. Let us see who is the Ubermensch, I said as I put my bare arm forward. It stuck out from the arm of my t-shirt, as Hitler extended his naked forearm next to mine. Morel, quickly tying us both in tourniquets one after the other, grabbed the needles. They were antique syringes made of steel and thick like chopsticks. Pushing forward the hammer on the needle, a single drop of fluids dripped from the mouth of the syringe tip before Morel plunged it into a blue vein underneath my skin. Looking me in the eyes, the fat, sweaty, bald man, perspiring and smelling of body odor, pulled the plunger back, revealing the tiny blood man who stuck his tongue out at me, Zig Heiling, before disappearing, as Morel pushed in the plunger. Swiftly, Morel removed the tourniquet, switched the empty needle for the full one, and positioned himself by Hitler's side to repeat the process as a bell began ringing. The ringing bell became like the sounds of millions of rockets firing up and launching, a feeling beginning in my chest like frost and antifreeze running through the veins in my neck became invigorating mists of cold blooming in my blood as the cocaine and meth burnt, then froze. The rivers of red they ran through before the morphine converted the ice to white-hot plasma. The pleasurable sensation of the breath of life in my lungs was overwhelmed by the sight of the rockets whose screaming mouths now screamed even louder. The cocaine and meth had activated all the pleasurable neurons in the wiring of the body, while the morphine had switched off the body's pain receptors. I turned to Hitler just in time to see the tiny blood man in the needle as Morel pulled back the plunger. Entering into the eyes of the tiny man in the needle, Morel brought down the hammer, sending me deep into the bloodstream of Adolf Hitler. Entering Hitler's blood as the chemical elixir as it was injected was like being shot into the deep of space inside a tire. Shadows and crawling tentacles twitched in the blood as I made my way through the Führer's circulatory system through a black ooze where fires started, then were snuffed out by the lack of oxygen. When finally I was pumped into the chamber of Hitler's heart, I saw it before me. The gaping mouth with its foul teeth and tongue with no stomach. The mouth licked and slithered its tongue. The flesh of the mouth was black and decayed like a corpse. As the liquid in the chamber rose to the terrible maw, the blood I was in was carried into the mouth. I was being digested by the dead heart that knows never-ending hunger. After the mouth of the destroyer had swallowed me and there was nothing but darkness, a bubbling began. The bubbling became more and more violent until finally the mouth with its vulgar teeth was belching as it vomited me up, spitting me out into the dark liquid of the Führer's blood as it bubbled, roaring like a river, taking me back into the veins and circuitry before delivering me to the mouth and spitting me out directly back into my mouth, as Morel pushed down the plunger on another shot of cocaine, methamphetamine, and morphine.
Now play the movie Morel. Play it now.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone, if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world there is room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way.
I couldn't stand it anymore, grabbing Morel's doctor's bag. I took the bottles of pure liquid chemicals and poured them down my throat. Grabbing Hitler by the collar, I pulled him in close to me. Grabbing his shoulders, I shot up into the air, pulling him up with me. The Reich leader's face was stunned as I soared into the air above the eagle's nest. Powered by the pure chemicals which gave me the power of creation, but only gave Hitler the power of destruction, I was superhuman. I was the Übermensch. Soaring higher and higher, I climbed further into the heavenly portion of the sky, before exiting the atmosphere entirely. In the dark void of space, where cocaine allowed us both to breathe, I stared deep into Hitler's eyes.
Jew, you do not even understand who I am. Finally, he pushed me away, and I floated a few feet from him in the gravity-less void of space. Smiling at me with unsettling eyes and teeth, he jumped towards me, grabbing me as he spoke.
Looking deep into my eyes, I spoke to him. "It was always you. There is only one. Don't you ever forget it," I said, grabbing hold of myself as gravity returned to send me pummeling towards the earth like one of the heavenly cocaine rockets materialized by Morel's chemicals. You could never escape yourself. Once you understood, you were the leaders of the armies of darkness that stood against you. You were unstoppable. That was the realization I had as I cratered into the dead earth. That muck and dirt of the earth was filled with the blood of my people, but it had been shed by my people, because the perpetrators were my people too. Every war, every crime, every foul deed, they were all mine and all yours, because we are one. One in the creation and one in the destruction, and never shall there ever be a separation.